Hey everybody, today I'm with one of my online heroes actually. Little does he know, I've been following for a number of years now. This is Matt Tran. He's the CEO of Engineered Truth. You can catch him on YouTube and I highly recommend that you do so because if you're looking to really hack your career, I mean, Matt can tell you some things that you're just not going to learn. You're not going to find out from your career counselor. You're not going to find out from, I don't know, you're not going to find out in general terms because a lot of Matt's experience comes from, it's a lot of it is anecdotal experience. And Matt has now, he's taken I suppose his passion for creating content to becoming a virtual CEO. He's a virtual CEO. He has his own company. He has 7+ employees. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, we're at 7 right now.
He has 7+ employees within his company, and he's self-made. He's built it all up. He has taken a route that's logical, but a route that has really driven him to becoming the virtual CEO he is today. So we're going to find out a lot more about him. We're also going to find out as well, because obviously we're all looking at the remote option. Matt has now established his second company called Remotize. Remotize, it's a community, it's a job board for us remote workers. So we're going to talk about that along the line as well. But first and foremost, Matt, I want you to tell everybody about you and how you got to becoming CEO of Remotize.
Yeah, I started Engineer Truth, which is my YouTube channel, 7 years ago. I made it while I was a mechanical engineer student, and I was interning for a company called Southern California Gas Company. It's a Fortune 500 company. And while I was working there, I was studying at Cal State Long Beach, and I saw so many people study useless degrees. And when I looked online for the resources, there was no central hub of accurate career information. At that time, people were still saying, oh, it doesn't matter what you major in, it'll all work out. And so I wanted to be the authority in accurate career information. And yeah, a lot of my advice is anecdotal, but I think that is the best one because it's real, right? I had real experience in engineering, and in the beginning, I did tell people that they should become engineers. But after I got fired from 3 engineering jobs, I realized that engineering would have never given me the lifestyle that I wanted, where I could wake up whenever I want, I could live wherever I want. I'm actually about to go spend a month in the Philippines in a couple weeks, wow. And I just came back from going to Vietnam for 3 weeks. I get to live anywhere I want in the world. I don't have an income cap. I have skills, real skills, that even if Engineer Truth went away, I could get a job in an instant. Because every business needs content marketing, every business needs video these days, and every business needs online advertising, things that I know really well. And then really, along the way of making Engineer Truth, I also studied web development. I went to a coding bootcamp for free. So I collected all these skills that make me really invaluable. And my goal for my audience is to give them the same skills on the same path so that they never have to worry about getting a job or making money. Because once you have these in-demand, highly in-demand skills such as digital marketing, coding, even design for websites or design for apps, people will be asking you to work for them all the time. Versus when I was a mechanical engineer, I applied to companies. I'd have to apply for 50 companies just to get one interview. As soon as I learned web developer skills, put it on my LinkedIn, boom, at minimum once a week, I have a recruiter reaching out to me saying, hey, do you want to accept this contract to hire position out in wherever in America, or even working remotely? And that's something that never happened to me as a mechanical engineer. And so that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people, guiding people toward more in-demand skills, because I'm essentially the same person, same intelligence, but studying mechanical engineering, hard life. Take 6 months to study web development, boom, offers all throughout the window. Just because nothing changed, except I just learned a different skill. And that's it. So your life could be exponentially easier if you just applied yourself to where the market is right now.
And I think that's a great point because there's so many choices, so many options that you can take when you go to university, but they don't necessarily point you towards the option that is going to get you you know, the jobs or the in-demand jobs. So I think, you know, if for those people who are, I suppose, at the graduate level or looking to go to university and are listening now, it's so important to listen to Matt, and it's so important that the point he made about positioning himself. You have to sell yourself as somebody and position yourself as somebody with skills that are relevant, and build those skills into your portfolio rather than just doing something purely because you love doing it. And Matt now is the ultimate, as I said, the ultimate CEO, remote CEO, digital nomad. You know, whichever expression you want. But beneath that, and actually another thing is, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I think a lot of people take this option because it's a lifestyle choice. Matt made strategic decisions. He did the research. He's done the hard work, and he's put himself in a position that has enabled him to have these options now, to grow his team to 7, to now establish a business that is helping other people like you and me to get to where he is. So it's great. And I think the journey is one that is inspiring as well, Matt. It's really inspiring.
What I like about business is that who you are when you earn $100 a month online, remotely, or through your own means, whether that's being a freelancer or even just flipping books on Amazon, buying books from a dollar store and selling on Amazon, just earning $100 a month. Who you have to be when you go from $0 to $100 a month is different. You have to change as a person. When I went from $0 to $100 a month, it made it real. And I remember it was only 7 years ago, a long time ago. It was only 7 years ago when my channel was only making a couple of dollars per day. It was like $3.50 per day. And that was just from YouTube ad revenue. And I thought to myself, wow, like I get a free Starbucks every day because I made some YouTube videos and I put it up on the internet. But that changes everything. Most people don't even know how to do that.
Absolutely.
Most people have no idea how to make even $3.50 per day on their own. So you do that, and I start making $100 a month. Okay, now obviously the next step is to make $1,000 a month. But who I had to become to go from $100 a month to $1,000 a month is different, because I have to get better at what I do. I had to learn keyword research on YouTube. I had to watch other people's videos. I had to be more passionate when I spoke. And so when I scaled to $1,000, which almost took a year, by the way, to go from $100, or actually, I think the path was even longer than that. It might have been 2 years. It was really slow for me because I had to change as a person to earn that kind of money. And then to go from $1,000 a month to $10,000 a month, again, you're just not the same person. It's impossible to stay the same, because at the end of the day, you enter the marketplace with a certain skill level and a certain business. And yeah, some businesses take time, obviously, like Remotize, my new company, my job board. It's going to take time. But what I'm excited about is who I have to become to be the CEO of a job board, and all the skills that I have to learn with it. I just get excited every time I wake up. And your job, your mission should get you excited. But along the way, there's a thing that a lot of people don't add. Along the way of finding your purpose, doing what you really want to do, you may have to take jobs that you don't want to do, but they teach you skills that are relevant to your end mission. So after I got fired from my third engineering job, I took a job. Well, first of all, I got fired from my third engineering job. If you want to know why, it's because I was always late and they were crap jobs. That's the reason why.
That was my next question.
People always ask. People always ask, right? And people want to know why they're such bad jobs. Imagine doing the same thing every day, and you're basically imagine a flow chart, okay, a flow chart, and you're just part of a flow chart. Like if A, then do C. If C, then do D. But it's a very complex flow chart, and that's your job, right? And then you're doing that every day. All right, and imagine how boring that is. So that was my jobs for all of my engineering. It was a lot of paperwork, a lot of tedious stuff. And some people may argue yeah, everyone has to start from somewhere. When you're working at the lowest level, it's not like you can't see what your manager is doing. I saw what my manager is doing, and I said, I have no interest in doing that. And mechanical engineering would have never given me the lifestyle that I have now, which is being able to live anywhere, right? And now I'm making mid six figures. Like as a mechanical engineer, you're never going to make mid six figures. It's just not possible. And so I got fired from my third engineering job, and I decided to take YouTube full time for 6 months. And at the time when I first decided to do YouTube full time, I was only making $250 per month. That's it. Less than less than a Starbucks a day. And then eventually well, maybe that's like $10 a day. But anyhow, so six months in, I only was making $400 per month after doing it for 6 months.
Wow.
And I was discouraged. But along the way, even though I wasn't making more money, I had learned a lot of lessons. And one of the things I had learned is how to use a DSLR. I bet some of you watching already know how to use a DSLR too. And so I took those skills and I applied for a job at bikeberry.com, and I made their product videos and tutorial videos. And even if you go there today on their YouTube channel, you can still see the videos I made a couple of years ago. And that went from making very little money to making $15 an hour. And now I had enough money to breathe. And I am forever thankful for that boss, Jack, for giving me a chance, because that year I had learned skills that I still apply today. Because I learned about e-commerce. Mm-hmm. I learned about how to make product videos. I learned how to teach people how to put a motorized engine on a bike. And along the way, I learned all these skills about video making that I still use today. And so not only was I able to breathe, because I could finally buy things, I could finally go on small trips, but also I learned a lot of skills. And then after that, I worked for uprocks.com, a digital media publisher, similar to like a smaller BuzzFeed. There I was their social media manager. And then after that, I worked for Bro Science Life, which is a big YouTube channel, a big comedy YouTube channel. And I was a professional meme generator where I took their content on YouTube and then I turned it into memes for Facebook and Instagram. Did that for a year and a half while building up Engineer Truth. And then I think roughly 2 years ago, I quit that contract to do just Engineer Truth by itself. And I think I held on to that contract with Bro Science Life for longer than I should have, because I think they're paying me $1,400 per month to make memes, 2 memes a day. And at the time, my YouTube channel was making me $12,000 a month.
Wow.
But psychologically, and maybe those of you listening have this problem too, psychologically, I couldn't let go of the stability. Like, for something in my head was saying, like, this is like stability to me. Like, I just can't let this go. And I see in a lot of people, like, they just can't let go of something that they've had for so long, that it's almost a little bit like hoarding a little bit. Like you're just too scared to let it go.
Yeah. And
don't get me wrong, when I let it go, it's not like instantly my YouTube revenue compensated. But I would say over the next 6 months, I definitely made more money. And being able to clear that mental space by not having to do memes was well worth it.
And you mentioned something, Matt, earlier on, because you've talked about a lot of the technical skills that you've got, the video making, meme making, content creation. Mm-hmm. You mentioned also about the changes that you saw in yourself as a person in order to get from A to where you are now. What were those changes, and what did you have to change about yourself in order to get to where you are now?
Man, some of the changes a long time ago, I really have to it's been, because they become a part of you. And you'll never be the same again. One of the changes that really happened very early on, I would say in the beginning, is as I was learning all this video editing stuff and how to make good videos, I realized that teaching yourself is always the best way to learn. Now, along the way, you could buy courses and have mentors and stuff like that. I consider that teaching yourself. And then I learned that college education is very limited. And then along the way, with making videos, I learned that I used to think that the speaking had to be perfect. Like, hey, in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 ways, to develop. Yeah, and I thought there had to be like no ums. It had to be, it had to be spot on. But what I learned recently is that it's more about, generally speaking, depends on your channel. It's more about the emotion you convey, because how I feel is how my audience is going to feel. And that's transmitted through a video. And so if I'm worried about okay, did I say the right words? The audience could feel that worry. It makes them worry. That worry of that transfers through the video. So what I realized is screw the script. I'm going to have a general idea of what I say, but most importantly, the emotions have to be there. And I'm still working on that today. It's just really, really, really hard. But in addition, I'm a CEO today, but when I started my journey, I told myself I'm never going to hire people, and I'm never going to be CEO. I just thought I was going to work on Engineer Truth by myself, and that it was just going to be my thing. The idea of hiring people was very scary to me because you got to pay them every month, right? And I didn't want to be responsible for people. And I would say, generally speaking, there's always exceptions, but when you make $10,000 a month, you could still be self-employed and like be a solopreneur. But to go from, like, generally speaking, to go from $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 a month, you generally have to hire people. Generally speaking, that's just how it is. So if I never hired people, I think I'd be stuck at $10,000 per month. But really, the way to scale is you just got to bring people on the team. Mm-hmm. Then the hard part was structuring it correctly, because why would I give someone a job that I wouldn't want to have? Mm-hmm. And so when I structured my company, it's very relaxed. There's no set hours. It's just all project-based, all assignment-based. And it's interesting because this has worked really well for my team. And a lot of companies don't get it to work because they just didn't set up the structure from the very beginning. But because my work environment is so relaxed, people are willing to take a lower pay. And that saved me a lot of money. Now, there's a lot of downsides in having a remote team, in that things don't get done nearly as fast as having everybody go sit in an office together. But the amount of money I save, it's insane. I'm spending like one fifth or 1/7 of the cost if I had to get everybody to work in person at an office.
Well, it sounds like you've gone through massive changes, to be honest, from what you just said. You talked about not necessarily. This is one thing that I have as well, is that I want things to be perfect. Things to be scripted. But like you said, it's the emotional connection. It sounds like you've connected with your purpose in many ways, because now that you're able to sort of relay that to the people in your video. And obviously you've developed an audience of 350,000 people on YouTube, because they connect with you, your purpose, your message. And then you mentioned something about the growth mindset. You were talking about not necessarily wanting or thinking about being a CEO with a team. So that's a massive change as well. It's kind of, I think it's a good point. You have to be adaptable, don't you? In this kind of scenario, you have to be able to segue from one sort of area to another and be quite agile in many ways, right?
Yeah, you have to be willing to grow. And I held on to being self-employed for a long time, like a whole year. I probably should have considered myself CEO and grew the team a year ago, and then I've only been really doing it this year. But that would be like one of my regrets, is that I had a feeling that I should, but I didn't. And I coasted for a year and enjoyed my success. I traveled around doing the typical 4-hour work week stuff, and I'm glad I did. I enjoyed my success. But what felt bad though is that I was making $14,000 or $15,000 a month traveling wherever I want to be, and that was very nice. But then a whole year passed, and I didn't grow at all. But I had a lot of fun. But my income didn't grow, the business didn't grow, and that felt really bad. And I have a mentor. His name is Joe Magnotti. He's the CEO of Empire Flippers, and he told me, if you stay stagnant, like, this is typical advice, but if you're staying in the same place, you're actually just getting behind. And I didn't want this business engineer truth or remote ties or these opportunities to pass me up for someone to take my place. So I said, okay, let's really step it up. Let's take my level, my video production to the next level. Let's start another company, remote ties, with a job board, and let's learn a lot of things. Because along the way of me learning all these skills, even if I ever have to go back to being an employee, I know so much about online business that any online business would want to take me on for a number of roles. Like, it doesn't matter really which one, because I know so much about online business. And what a lot of people have a hard time accepting is that I am much more valuable learning these online marketing skills or content making skills than I will ever be as an engineer. And what you're paid is a reflection on how valuable you are. And if Engineer Truth is bringing in a couple $100,000 per year, that means it's giving that much value to the world. And as an engineer, you just cannot give that much value back to the world as a single engineer. Now, as a whole company, companies can give a lot of value. But me as a single mechanical engineer, there's no way I could give that much value back into the world.
No, that's a massive point. That is such a massive point. And I think it touches upon another aspect of your personality is that you're the kind of person who wants to make an impact, and you've kind of created a ripple effect with the Engineered Truth, you know, and I'm sure as well Remote Eyes as well is going to be a big success, because after all, you're enabling people to have an easier time of finding those remote jobs. And from what you've seen, Matt, from what you've discovered about when you've obviously just through your career as well, hiring people, etc., but now moving on to Remote Eyes, what are the key areas that you're seeing as being trends or compatible to the remote lifestyle?
Yeah, the good thing about remote work is that there's something for everybody. And if you want to look at the main categories, we have them on remoteties.com. We have the jobs by category. Right now, we have the most popular categories on there. So if you want to take a look, it's at remoteties.com. And I would say the best are copywriting, which is selling through writing. Second is designing websites or designing apps. Programming, I think everyone knows what that is. DevOps, which is setting up servers for websites, using things like Amazon Web Services. For Microsoft, it's Azure, because websites are just code, but eventually they need to be hosted on something, and not a lot of people know how to do that, how to host websites, and how to do all the technical server stuff. If you know that, you're very, very valuable. That's an industry where there's a lot of demand but not a lot of supply, and one of the reasons why there's not a lot of supply is because it is, in my opinion, boring to learn. But if you like it, you're going to make a ton of money, and you're highly in demand. And the last one is digital marketing, which is learning how to do search engine optimization so that websites appear higher in Google ranking, or buying ads on Facebook, buying ads on Google or Instagram or any of the social media platforms, including Bing, is a really big one. And then bonus one that I just thought of right now is customer service. Mm-hmm. And customer service is like the gateway job that a lot of people overlook.
You got to listen to this, guys. Listen to this, guys. Now this is gold. This is gold.
Well, because a lot of people they only want to do the high end jobs like design, programming, or digital marketing, but they don't look at customer service. So customer service doesn't have a lot of competition. But if you go into customer service, working for a job or company where you learn really invaluable skills, you're going to have less competition, and you're going to get immersed in the environment. And then while you're learning programming, while you're learning design, you get paid to learn. So for example, you could do customer service for a company like ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is email automation software. Email automation sounds really boring if you're not an entrepreneur. Then when you become an entrepreneur, email marketing is the most interesting shit ever. So a lot of businesses need email marketing. So if you want to learn email marketing, instead of like trying to buy a course, which I encourage too, what you could do is do customer service for ActiveCampaign, and you'll learn everything about it. Another trending software is ClickFunnels. You may have seen ClickFunnels ads for many things by Russell Brunson. Instead of paying to learn ClickFunnels, why don't you be customer service for ClickFunnels? Yeah. And then you're going to see everyone's funnels. You're going to see bad funnels. You're going to see multi-million-dollar funnels. You have a list of – so with ClickFunnels, they give an award out for every person that has made over $1 million in sales. So it's a very public list. Like, you know who are the 200 millionaire people who have made $1 million in sales for ClickFunnels? If they do customer service, you know that person you're working with has $1 million funnel, and you're looking right at their funnel.
You're getting training on the job, aren't you? You're getting training
on the job. Exactly. And if someone has a bad funnel, you're like, oh yeah, this is a really bad funnel. So you build an eye for funnels by working 8 hours a day doing customer support for funnels, and then you gain the skill that is going to be immensely valuable. And when you have that kind of insight that nobody else gets because you're customer service, you get a peek at things that are not accessible to the public. You just know things that other people cannot learn. There's a gate, and the gate is working for the company. So my suggestions to you is don't just overlook customer service like everybody else. Do customer service for a company like HubSpot. HubSpot is a customer management software, but really it's everything. If you get a customer service for HubSpot, I'll tell you right now, you're going to learn some insane high level business skills that you'll never get anywhere else. You work there for a year, get some skills, you're invaluable to businesses, because a lot of online businesses use HubSpot, and it's confusing. And if you can be their HubSpot guy and help them navigate it, they're willing to give you a job just for that.
guys,
Yeah.
look, yeah, you'd have to. No career counselor is going to give you this kind of information, and I think it's just. I'm. Do you know how I know this is good information? Not just because it's coming from Matt, but because for a long time, for over a decade, I worked in recruitment, and one of the key things that I would say, which a lot of career counselors wouldn't say, is that you're not going to get the golden check or the golden check on your first job. Sometimes you have to start in a different role, and I think Matt alluded to this at the beginning of at the top of the show. Start in a different role, which may not look glamorous on the face of it, but you learn so much. You'll learn so many things. Your career path is not just going to go straight ahead like this. It's going to take twists and turns in order for you to get to where you want to be. Matt has experienced that himself, and look at him now. He's the CEO of his second company. He's making six figures. So if you're, if I urge you to just listen to what Matt is saying, and I know there's a few of you within the group, within my email list actually, who ask me, how can I get into this job? And I think a lot of you may turn your nose up at some of the suggestions in terms of go in this route first, take customer services. But like I said, here's a man who's been there and done it. He knows, he's networking with CEOs, so he knows what he's talking about, and he's hiring people as well, so he knows about hiring.
Yeah, to add a personal story of how I figured this out is when I was at bikeberry.com making those product videos for $15 an hour, there was a lot of customer service, about 5 or 6 people who were just getting paid $12 an hour to do customer service. So you fast forward 3 years now, half of them have a side hustle. Guess what? Doing e-commerce. Where do they learn those skills? From working at Bikeberry. Right now, I have enough skills to start up my own e-commerce company. I have a general background of how to do it. How did I learn those skills? By doing product videos, by making YouTube videos for e-commerce business. Mm-hmm. And so when these people were doing customer service, what are they receiving? What's going into their headset? Complaints. Well, what I like to call suggestions on how to make the business better.
Yes, feedback.
Boom. So you already are working for a business that has a working system. It's already, like Bikeberry was already bringing in a couple $1 million per year, which is really small for an e-commerce company. But like it was already bringing in a couple $1 million per year. And then they get to see how they could improve. They get to see like what's upsetting customers and how they can make their system better. And that kind of information they took, and now many of them are making a couple $1,000s on the side doing e-commerce.
And I think, well, again, it's all about immersing yourself, or sort of putting yourself into a situation where you can learn those things, and having, in some ways, it's having the humility as well, because like I said, and like Matt's alluding to, you're not going to jump into your ideal job first time around. Sometimes you might get lucky, but I think it's like it's the university of life, isn't it? It's where you're studying while working. In many ways, you're learning on the job. You're learning skills that, like we said before, you're not going to learn on campus. Something else, Matt. Something I've noticed as well about a lot of people who are looking for work in social media or wherever it may be, looking for remote work. What they tend to do is they tend to take a bit of a throwing mud at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. So that what they'll do is they'll list, I can do this. I can do copywriting. I can do social media management. I can do content management. I can do SEO. They'll list everything down. How would you suggest, people, take an approach to actually approaching somebody like you, for example, or at least impressing somebody like you?
At the end of the day, I only want to see results. I don't want to, because anybody can title themselves a digital marketer. Mm-hmm. Anybody could title themselves as a web developer. The title almost means nothing because it doesn't tell me how good you are. So when you're applying for a remote job, or this actually applies to any job, is that you want to show the results that you got. If you're a copywriter, you have one job. It's to sell. It's not to get click-throughs. It's not to get opens. It's one thing, sales. So when you're applying for a copywriter position and you don't tell me how many sales you've gotten in your life, so it means you're not that good. Whereas a really good copywriter, because the interesting is, if you're applying for a copywriting position, you should write some pretty damn convincing words, because that's your job. Your job is to write convincing words. That's copywriting. So if you can't even convince me on hiring you or bringing you on an interview, you're not very good. But how are you going to convince someone that you know copywriting? Boom, you say, hey, I ran this campaign, this email campaign for this client. Well, for a client, you don't want to give client information away. But I ran this campaign for an e-commerce client, and my email sequence made this e-commerce client $1 million. Boom. You already distinguish yourself from other copywriters, because most copywriters don't put that kind of information in. And the reason why is because they're not actually good copywriters. They haven't gotten results yet. Now, how do you get those kind of results if you haven't? You got to learn how to sell your own stuff, or sell something that you're passionate in. If you can't even sell something that you care about, that you know really, really well, you're not able to sell that. How are you going to sell someone else's stuff?
And so much gold in this. I hope you guys have got a pen and writing this down, or you're kind of taking this on board, because again, so many, I mean, we'll probably talk about resumes and CVs in a little while, but one of the things that I noticed when I was hiring myself was that lots of people, whether it be copywriting, social media, SEO, they would just say, I don't know, I can optimize a page for certain anchor text, or I can do, I don't know, a website audit. But they would never say what the outcome of that was, or what the results that they got from that audit. So, you know, you did an audit, or you kind of were able to overcome Penguin or something like that, or you, like Matt says, you had I don't know, the email that you sent out resulted in 10,000 people opting into a course, which then made the company $2 million or whatever it was. You have to be outcomes orientated or results orientated when you're speaking to people like Matt, because Matt, after all, he's all about the results for his company. He's very much passionate about the company, but at the end of the day, he has to have people on board who he knows are going to deliver results. So, you know, and I think that should reflect in your covering letter, and that should reflect in your resume. And Matt has a particular bugbear when it comes to, or a particular dislike of certain types of resumes with certain types of typography and you know, that sort of thing, Matt.
Yeah, on my channel, I've always stood against the typical career center advice that you get, where they tell you have a resume with only Times New Roman, black font, white background, and that is it. And this advice comes from, there are companies, there are recruiters, I should say, HR departments, who only want this kind of resume. And I think that's a dying trend, because I just hired a content writer, 2 content writers for remotize.com. And when I was looking through resumes, the last thing I want to see is another black and white resume, because that visually actually takes your eye longer to scan, because you have to sit there and read it.
It's tiring.
It's not color coded. And also the spacing is not smooth on the eyes, especially when it's Times New Roman and the spacing between words and lines is not very big. It just takes, this is more strain on your eye. And then also, for me, I just want something that is visually appealing, that just gets me the information as fast as possible. And when you add color to it, you can make sections, and you can make graphics, and you can make it more easier on the eye to read. So it's not just like a pretty thing. Oh, it's just pretty. No, it actually has functionality into it, in that it's faster for me to read. And then in addition, it shows to me that you're not just a corporate rat. Like, especially when you're hiring for a remote position, you're not looking for a corporate rat. You're looking for someone that's a little bit bold, who's a little bit willing to stand out. I don't want someone that can take orders, right? So when you have that Times New Roman thing, what does that convey about your own personality? It says someone told you at this career center, who is questionably credible, and you're just an order taker. You're someone that says, okay, this is how resumes should be. I'm going to do exactly that. Instead of just thinking for yourself, thinking about what is actually more functional. So when I see a colored resume, not only is it easier on the eyes, conveys like they actually have a sense of style, a design, which is always great. But to me, it says, they say, yeah, I know the status quo is Times New Roman, black and white. I'm going to step out of that, take a little bit of risk, because I know that this is just a better looking resume. And that conveys to me. And I like that a lot. And I think that's where a lot of companies are going toward, at least in my space, in the online business space, all the employers I know, we prefer those kind of resumes for the list of reasons I just said. For me, functionally, I just don't see the benefit of Times New Roman with no picture. And I encourage people to put a picture on your resume. And some people might get a little offended there. But don't get me wrong. Don't have a selfie. Don't have a junk picture of you in a dark room or in a closet or like in your unkept house. Really get a solid picture, maybe a solid colored background, or you outside at a college campus, something with a nice holistic background with some trees or something in it. You know what I'm talking about. Put your suit on, make it look nice. Then put that kind of picture on your resume. It's going to help a lot. Because look, the whole not putting a picture on the resume thing blows my mind, and then the logic around it, but it's so dumb. Like it's so dumb. I don't really understand it, because everyone knows they're gonna check your LinkedIn anyways. So then why just put on your resume? You save them a click. You make it a little faster for them. The whole idea of not putting it is so dumb to me. So dumb to me, because people are like, well, they're gonna judge you on your looks. They're gonna judge you on your looks either way. You may as well just put your best foot forward so you control what they see versus them looking for it. So if you don't put the picture there, they're going to look for a picture. Most of the time. I think there's a study like 80% of recruiters look through social media.
Absolutely,
I think it's only like 20 or 30% that don't. So if they're going to look through pictures, they're going to even be more curious if you don't put your picture up.
You know what?
So you get to choose which picture they get to see if you put it on your resume.
I used to be the guy that said don't put your pictures on your resume, but I think it's like you said. I think times have changed so much.
Times have definitely changed.
You have to move with the times as well. You have to, like you said, put yourself in a position where you're in control of what they see. And that actually brings us on to another point, is making sure that all your social profiles, which have pictures on anyway, are up to scratch. That, get rid of all the junk photos and all the pictures of you in embarrassing situations, that kind of thing. Because recruiters are going to search through everything on your LinkedIn, on your Facebook, everywhere. And if you don't want them to, then just don't have it. But at the end of the day, if you want this kind of this role, the role that is kind of lends itself to that creativity, to that visual aspect, to marketing, etc., to PR, then you're going to have to embrace this whole aspect of having that creativity that Matt talked about, not following convention with the Times New Roman, being different, because 100 other people applied to the same job and they're all going to say the same thing. So you have to find that way of standing out. And I think Matt for his last role, Matt's not recruiting at the minute, but for his last role, Matt had over 100 applications for one role. Is that right?
Over 200 applications.
Over 200. Wow.
Over 200 applications, yeah.
So you've got to ask yourself, how are you going to stand out? How are you going to stand out in the best possible way, in a positive way? So that's one way.
There's something I wanted to add to that. It just slipped my mind. But we actually, okay, sorry, you're gonna have to edit that out. But we're working on a complete guide to making your portfolio for online jobs, and so we'll have that blog out within a month or so. And out of 200 applicants, Christine, who I brought on the team as a content writer, she had the best portfolio because it was simple, clean, eloquent. And so I'm going to have her write a blog on how to make a portfolio for remote jobs. And I think first of all, if you don't have a portfolio for a remote job, don't even apply. You're wasting your time. No, you really are. Because if they don't have a portfolio, I just delete it. It makes no sense to hire you at all. Second thing is, once you see a prime example of what you're competing against, now you have a level where you're like, oh, that's why I'm not getting any interviews, because I'm applying against people like her who have an immaculate, perfect portfolio, and mine is down here and it looks like really bad. And now I have something I could strive to. And by the way, this complete guide teaches you exactly how to have a portfolio on her level. It's really great because with Remotize, which is the job board that we're making, I get to educate people on how to be competitive when they apply for remote jobs. And this educates people, this teaches people so that they can have an edge, but also makes the employer experience better because as someone that had received 200 applications, most of them were bad. So on remote ties, my joke goal isn't to get the employer volume, is to get them a select number of good, solid applicants, and that actually saves them time. Because filtering through the bad candidates was wasting my time. So by educating, I get to educate people for free, and I get to make the employer experience better. But to wrap back to your social media point, I had my executive director filter through applications, and I said, "Hey, go through these applications, pick the top 5 for me, okay?" So he went through and he picked 5 people. So I'm like, okay, cool, interesting. So I go straight to their social medias, and right away I eliminated all 5 except for one. I eliminated 4 out of 5 just from their social medias. One was a cat lady. One guy, he just did not look comfortable, like his face, and it's just uncomfortable. And like he had very that's not a very nice way to say it, but he had a very posh thing about him, talking down to him. And then the other 2 I eliminated through social media. One girl had a master's in communications, and her writing was too much fluff in it, and also I just really didn't like the way she worded things. It sounded too much like an English essay, and that was reflected on her social media. And so all these people I eliminated because of their social media. And if these people had a better social media presence, they would get a job. It would increase their chances of getting a job. And I would say it's dangerous not to have a social media presence, because if someone's really not on social media, it's like, are you afraid of people?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be this fanatic about taking the perfect food picture, but putting your best foot forward on Instagram or on Facebook really shows that, oh, okay, this person is really out there. We're hiring a content writer. That position, you have to be savvy in a lot of ways. If you're going to be a content writer on my team, but you don't even have basic understanding of Instagram or basic understanding of how Facebook, can you really write good content? Not really, probably right?
Probably not. And I'm just curious now, because people are going to be asking what they want to see that article, that blog. That is it, Christine? You said.
Yeah.
They're going to want to see that post that Christine is making, because a lot of people, they want to know what should be in that portfolio. What kind of, can you give us some hints? You don't have to give us the whole thing. I'm sure what we can do is. And by the way, one other thing, if you're looking for Remotise, it's spelt with an S. It's remotise.com. But yeah, Matt, tell us what are a couple of the things that were in Christine's portfolio that really sort of stood out for you?
Number 1, right in the beginning, a picture of her and a bio, sort of like what you put on LinkedIn, right? A bio that's roughly 1 paragraph. Boom, 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 boom. I'm a digital marketer, blah, blah. I do this, I do that. And there's some results-driven things in there. I've helped with branding, blah, blah. Gives me a brief summary. It's this is why learning sales funnels are so important, because when you learn sales funnel, you learn that everything is a sales funnel. Your portfolio is actually a sales funnel for you, all right? So it had where she's information about her, then it goes into the skills that she's had, then it goes into the results, then it goes to testimonials, and then guess what? And any good sales funnel, you have to tell the audience what to do. Boom. A last thing was a call to action. Hey, do you want to work with me? Here's a contact box. That's a key thing a lot of people miss. They don't have a contact box. A lot of people don't have testimonials, right? These things that you learn if you ever make a sales funnel. Most people never learn sales funnels because they think sales funnels are evil. Well, if you think sales funnels are evil, you're never going to make a good portfolio, because a portfolio is a sales funnel for you.
Yeah. And what platform did she choose to put her portfolio on? Was it on a web-based platform? Was it on her resume, or both? Or
I have no idea. I actually even have her write. I don't know how she did it. So that's why I'm having her write a blog on how to do it. Yeah.
Well, Matt, make sure that when she's written that blog, please let us have it, and I'll share it with everybody in the group and on the email list, because that's just key. That's just the key to your success in terms of getting through the hiring process, isn't it? Really, the actual profile.
And the reason why hers was better is because a lot of people submitted me their portfolios with a lot of writing. They used a platform called Contently, And so it's like a list of all the articles they've written. But if you have like all your articles that you've ever written on this thing, it's up to me to choose what I read. But you're not controlling what I read, right? Because you just sent me this page of like all the blogs you've written. But when you have a portfolio and you treat it like a sales funnel, now you're controlling what I see, and I only see what you want me to see. And so for some of the content writers, I saw blogs, and this is to get into detail, but I saw a feminist blog, and I'm thinking like, okay, like this is maybe not someone I want to bring on, because if she has those kind of strong values, it may not gel with the rest of the team. And so she should have removed that from her content if she's going to funnel when applying for jobs. Now, if she's applying to write feminist blogs for daily news or whatever, put those back in. But because she didn't control what I saw, first impression, I see feminist articles. Look, I have 200 other applicants. I don't really want to deal with someone who has really strong political opinions on their portfolio. Boom, let's just move on to the next one. And I know some of you may get triggered by that, like, oh, you're being biased or whatever. I'm not being biased. I'm being practical. If she has those strong political values, she starts coming to my business, start calling me a misogynist or whatever. That's very distracting for the whole team. It's just not very practical. Put those political things behind. We're here to make a business. We're here to help people get jobs. We're here to transform people's lives, get them that first remote job, educate them, connect people to opportunities. We're not here to be political. And that's something that I don't want on my team. And so when she had conveyed that through her content lead, I just had immediately X'd her out. As soon as I saw that, no interview at all, of course.
I think people shouldn't really get their back up about that, because what you have to remember when you're in the game of getting your next opportunity, whether that be freelance or getting hired by somebody like Matt, what you have to understand is the people who you're sending your CV to, the companies that you're sending your CV to, they have their values. They have a set of values that they work to, and they prescribe to. So for me, for example, I wouldn't post my CV to a company that sells cigarettes, for example, because I don't want to work for a company that basically helps to kill people. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that girl who Matt was referring to, who has feminist views and is strong about her feminist views, Matt's not saying that she shouldn't have feminist views. What he's saying is maybe she should apply to a platform that, a political platform or a newspaper or something that is aligned with her own values, because that's where she's going to have the most value after all, I think. And for her in the long run, and also probably for Matt as well, in the long run, there's a compatibility issue. Whether we like it or not, we have to accept that you have to be, compatible in the company that you worked in. One of the last companies I worked for, a digital agency, I was, at the time, I was in my mid 30s. Not that anything that was anything to do with it, but I was expecting my first child. And the agency itself was lots of young people. They weren't really sort of into the whole sort of kids thing, and they didn't really have that sort of empathy when it came to parenthood. So that as much as they were nice people, they're really nice people, I didn't have that compatibility issue. I wasn't able to go out with them on their long nights out sort of thing, and that became an issue for them after a while. And fair play. But what you've got to do is what Matt is saying, you've got to find that point of compatibility with it wherever you work. So it's a good point.
Yeah.
Matt, let's talk about Remotize. Remotize, it's one of the newest job boards. Lots of people in the world of recruitment and career advice, they don't always recommend using job boards. And I get confused by that, because if there's a good job board out there which gives real opportunities, gives real advice, gives help and hints and career advice on how to get to a specific place, then I can see the value in that. So tell us about Remotize, Matt.
Yeah, Remotize is the job board that we're creating. We're going to focus on making really good content. That's going to be our angle. That's how we're going to compete against other competitors. So with Remotize, one thing is I just feel very passionate about it, because I really think that getting a job, remote job, is a life-changing moment for anybody. Because once you go remote, you get that first remote job, I rarely ever hear people getting a remote job and then going back to a regular full-time job. They might go to a job where they have to show up 2 or 3 times a week, but it's really rare for someone to go straight back to a Monday through Friday on-site job once they've had a taste of that remote life. You'll never go back. And my life has been changed by doing remote work. And I really think remote work is the future because there's so many benefits of it. People are happier, the retention is better, you could pay people less, you save on office costs. So the companies that are not doing it are losing out because they're not doing it right. And I think that's why some companies get burned doing it, and they don't realize, like, look, if you're going to let people go remote, you could actually pay them a lot less. It doesn't make sense to let someone go remote, completely remote, and then pay them the same as everybody else. And so, like, if you could do that cost savings, it's going to add up very, very fast. And with Remotize, some of the data that we get from Engineer Truth is that we ran a poll on my community channel on YouTube, and we surveyed 2,300 people. 40% of the people, step back, we pulled my audience, we asked them, would you rather make $10,000 a month, but you have to go to a cubicle, or would you rather make $2,000 a month, but you can live anywhere in the world? 40% of the participants said that they would take $2,000 a month and live anywhere in the world, then earn $10,000 and have to go to a cubicle. So when you think of that, people out there are willing to take 1/5 of the pay if you just let them go remote. As a company, you could hire 5 people for the same price as 1 if you let them be remote. Now, will you lose some communication and some productivity by not making people go on site? Yes. But imagine if you get 5 people for the cost of 1. How does that change your whole business, right?
Well, I think that for somebody like yourself, for somebody who's in a position as a CEO, that enables you, like you said, to grow your team pretty quickly. Does that have an impact on, or have you found that's had an impact on the quality of people that you hire, or the quality of people that you attract?
That's a really good question. I feel like the quality I attract is even better. Crazy. Okay. Yeah, because the people that I have, Matt, who does the digital marketing on my team, he's really good, 7 years of experience, and really good friend of mine, and really just believes in remote work as well. I don't think I could get the same quality of person as him if I made him go to an office. Because when you get to a certain skill level of how good you are, you refuse to go back to an office. I was just having a conversation with my friend Dylan. He's a programmer. He's a coder. He's been doing it for 2.5 years, and now he's a part of the hiring process. And he says when there's a developer and they know how good they are, we give them a job offer, and they won't even accept it unless we let them work from home at least 1 day a week. Won't even accept it. Won't even look at it. They don't have to. So really, top talent, they know they're good, and they require on their side that you let them work remotely. So if you don't, you're missing out on those top players.
And I think that's a good point, actually, about the developer. I remember a few years ago, I was hiring a developer myself, and the job on behalf of somebody else, and the job was actually in an office. And what we found was that lots of people, probably 90% of the people I spoke to, they all insisted on working remotely, even though the job wasn't a remote job, and they just knew that they had their choice of opportunities, so they just were able to say, actually, no. So I think, if there are any people who are employing out there, I think you really have to. This is a real thing. People working remotely, it's not a make money quick way to make money scheme anymore. It's a real thing where people are working from home. They're building careers from home. They're expecting to be able to work from home full time. So I think if you're not going to embrace it and try to find ways of accommodating it, then you are gonna miss out on the best talent. You really are. And
to add to that, think about when I'm hiring, I'm selecting the best content writers from the entire world. But if I was hiring a content writer and they had to be in LA, you really only select few compared to the world, right? Like people that are either willing to live in LA or people who are already in LA. How many people are that? Many of you probably would never want to live in LA. It's not your kind of city. It's a little bit dirty. I understand. I hardly want to live in LA myself. But once you have the applicant pool of the world, Really, because like as I mentioned earlier in the interview, my content writer, one is from Vancouver, the other one is from the UK. Again, when you have the talent pool of the world, the talent you get is a lot better. And something I like to add when it comes to making a company, because remotize is something that people can feel very passionate about. The two content writers we got, they're very passionate about remote work, and they want to work on this project because they believe in remote work and they want to help people through their writing. We were able to get really, really good talent because it's a mission that people could get behind. Just like how you mentioned, like you would never apply for a cigarette company because you can't get back behind that mission. I think people always have a price. Like if Marlboro gave you like $1 million a year, you'd be like, okay, like I'll do it for a year, right? So there's a price where you'll sell out for your values, but there's also a price where you're willing to take a lower pay because you believe in the mission. Almost how some people volunteer to go to developing countries to help them build bridges, to give their medical services for free because they believe in the mission, right? Yeah. So since people believe in the mission of Remotize, we've been able to get really top tier talent for really low pay, which is a huge competitive edge when you're making a business.
And again, it's another great point in the sense that I think what a lot of people tend to do when they're looking for a job, and I think that this is one thing maybe you might think about, Matt, with the job board, is that a lot of people will look for a job board or they'll look online and they'll say, yeah, I can apply for that one. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And then they'll send like their CV or whatever, their application to all the jobs that are content manager or social media manager or copywriter, when what they should really be doing is this is how you use a job board. You go to the job board, you look at all the jobs that you can do, but then you look at the company, you look at what the company is offering. You do your research on the CEO, you do your research on the job, the mission, the values of the company. Do the values and mission of the company align with your own? If the values and the mission align with your own, and obviously the job is something that you can do, you need to include all of that in your application, as well as all the aesthetic things that Matt was referring to at the beginning. That's how you apply for a job. And I think that's why job boards are so good, because it gives you an overall picture of who's hiring at the minute, and you can pick who you want. And remotize.com, in case you missed it, is giving you an opportunity to do that in one spot with all the remote jobs there. So, Matt, is there anything, I mean, before we go, is there any last thoughts in terms of any last big pieces of advice if people are applying via Remotize or in general that you want to offer them, any nuggets of advice?
Yeah, I think when you apply for a remote job, you are competing against everyone in the world. And that is why you're so easily crossed off if your social media looks bad. You're so easily crossed off if your portfolio looks bad. Every single detail needs to be immaculate if you're going to apply for remote work. I'll be honest, the people that we got to be content writers for the price that we're paying them, which is $150 per blog, to get that level of person, like when you see these blogs, you're going to be like, wow, like this person's like really, really good blogs. Like you're competing against everyone in the world. And like, unless you're going to be everyone that works remotely, you are world class at something because you really competed against 200 other people or 300 other people for the same job. So you really are like world class. And for those of you who are not getting the results you want, you're not getting the remote job, yeah, consider working for on-site position, doing the same thing because that's a little easier to get. Yeah. Build up your skills, build up your portfolio, and then work remotely. Some people, like I did a live stream to my audience yesterday. And someone was saying like work from home jobs are a scam, or those listings are fake because they never get answers. Let me tell you right now, they're not fake. As you're shaking your head because you know it's true. Like these are real. Why would companies post jobs that they're not really hiring for, right? Yeah. Like it just makes no sense. Like it makes absolutely no sense. They're not fake jobs, but they're competitive jobs, and everything about you needs to be immaculate, from the profile pictures to the writing on your LinkedIn. Everything has to be tip top, like 100%. And to the point where if you're not a good writer, have a friend that's good at writing, write the text on your portfolio because that matters too, right? Like I'm looking at every single little detail, especially for a content writer. If you can't, I'm hiring for a content writer, copywriter, and you write a bad bio, like come on, I'm writing you as a writer. Like come on, like let's be real here.
You gotta be able to write.
You gotta be able to write. And another thing I'll add is that whole professionalism, like to whom it may concern.
Oh.
Hard X. Oh. Hard X. Do not to whom may concern was a thing like 5 years ago.
Probably and maybe longer.
maybe longer, right?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, blah. Get their name. Hey, Diane. I'm applying to you for this position. Generally speaking, if you got to pick a writing style, of course, every recruiter is different. There's so many personalities out there. Generally speaking, a simple and clean writing style will win most of the time. Hey, I'm applying for this position. These are the skills that blah, blah, blah. Like, basically, you take their list of requirements. You say, hey, my name is Matt. I'm applying for this position. This is why I'm good for this qualification. This is why I'm good for this qualification. This is the experience I have doing this, and this is how it is. When you make their requirements a checklist, and you just write one sentence for each thing on the line, that one thing already makes you in the top 10% when it comes to cover letters. That's it. So I agree with you. The spray and pray method of copying and pasting is a waste of your time. You think you're saving time by doing it? When I see a cover letter that has been copied and pasted, I just delete it instantly. If you don't want the job, if you don't care enough to write a custom cover letter for my position, it shows to me that you don't really want this job. You want a job, but you don't want this job. I want to hire people that want this job. They want that realize that this job is special. And so the two people that we brought on, they wrote custom cover letters.
You've got to make an effort. You just got to make an effort. You've got to find out the name of who you're writing to. I mean, why put dear sir, dear Matt? I've never understood that. And the other thing about the guy who talk about fake jobs. Yeah, there are lots of fake jobs out there. I tell you what, one reason that recruiters have got a bad reputation is they tend to, I'm not saying all, but a lot of recruiters will put fake jobs on job boards in order to attract CVs for their database. But the great thing about Remotize is that Remotize.com has got jobs on there that are from companies that are hiring right now. And that's why I'm saying to you, it's, you have to, at the end of the day, either way, you've got to do your research to see who's hiring, to see their values, mission, and what they're hiring for. So, Matt, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for your time. Everybody keep a lookout for remotize.com. And if you've got any questions that I can forward on to Matt, then please let me know. Wherever, I don't know, there may be comments below this, but let me know or drop me an email and we'll sort them out for you. Thanks, Matt.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alex.